I'm having microphone issues.
They have Viagra for that.
I said microphone.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
Hearing. Not dictaphone.
Oh, dictaphone. There you go.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 497 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Paul E. Cooley, and joining me today, my wonderful, if internet bereft co-host, Terry Mixon. Terry, how are you besides still on dial-up internet?
You know, some days I think dial-up would be an improvement over what I have.
You know, when you have negative bytes up and down, you might have a problem.
That's entirely true.
So please forgive Terry for roboting all over the place.
Am I roboting now?
No, you're fine now. You're fine at the moment. So hurry up while you have an
That's why we're recording this intro now while I actually have some internet here.
Just in case. So before you start roboting and your connection dies, why don't you tell us what the hell you've been up to?
Writing's been very productive. I'm a third of the way through with Clan Wars, although I suspect that title is going to change because, well, yeah, I don't think that what I originally had in mind for this book is actually going to happen. The plot is going somewhere else.
Oh boy.
No, it's actually an improvement. Where the plot is going is actually better than what I originally had in mind. And I think it will be more proactive in getting my main characters all back together again.
Well, this is the second time you've had this happen with a book, right?
This happens a lot with my books. I'll start writing the book, and somewhere in the middle, there'll be a course change to head towards something somewhere unexpected. So I think it's something with my own particular mental process in writing.
Well,
but this time I'm being a little sterner on myself, going, no. I had to delete an entire scene because I was like, oh, I can do this. This would be cool. No, that's another book. You're not writing that book right now. No.
I honestly think there are times when Sue Bateman just wants to kill me. Because of some of the shit that I do, because I think we all end up with a notebook if we're smart with deleted scenes and other things like that to say, remember this? It wasn't right for this book, but it's right for maybe another one.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we say? Nothing is ever wasted, ever thrown away, really?
Well, I chunked the words away, but the idea behind those words certainly would be another plot point that could be examined in a future book. If I have the time to freaking write that book. It's definitely appropriate to the series that I'm writing because it definitely riffs off of something that I'm doing. It's just it would be too much of a distraction if I went and allowed myself down that rabbit hole. The book would not finish the way I wanted it to. So I need to be a little bit more focused on what I'm doing and get the characters herded like cats in the direction they need to go.
Cat herding? No.
Totally true.
At your house? No.
Not that I have any experience with that. But usually the cats win. So that may not be a very good example.
No, I think the cats always win, even when they lose. They refuse to admit defeat. That's because they're cats. Well, I haven't gotten shit done on the writing for recording, and the last 3 days with the day job have been absolute hell. I worked on some stuff all over the weekend. So for them, I think I racked up about 16, 17 hours of work this weekend on day job. It sucked because I really wanted to get back to writing. So today I'm spending the day recording because all those wonderful feelings out there want the free destruction, which I also want to give them. So I'm cranking on that right now and probably going to enlist my $10 patrons to help me vet and QC it. I think that's a good way to go. So they'll get the chapters as I finish them, as I edit them, and then I'll throw them up there, and then hopefully they'll listen and help me QC the whole shooting match. Hopefully. One piece at a time.
That's all any of us can do, man. One piece at a time.
Yeah, pretty much. So the good news is while I'm recording Destruction, I'm remembering things that I need to take over to Trident when I get back to finishing it. So, or get back to writing it. So things aren't a complete loss. I think this is one of the great things about going back and and reading it aloud as it refamiliarizes me with everything that I put in there for the next book. So that's a good part of the process. But it just takes a long time, dude. It just takes a long time.
I know one other thing that I've got going on is Liberty Station's audiobook is approved by Amazon or ACX and on its way out to all the sellers. So 2 or 3 days down the road, that will appear.
Yay!
Yay! More Veronica goodness.
And how many more audiobooks does she have to do to catch up?
She's not that far behind. 2 in Liberty Station, and she's recording the most recent one from Empire right now. So she's actually pretty close to caught up.
Cool. You broke up like a son of a bitch. Yeah, you know what's funny is we had that as the bumper to last week's episode, which is doing that. It's so sad.
Let me try that again. She's recording the final Empire book right now, and there are 2 written books in Humanity Unlimited that will have to be that are next or somewhere in the schedule. So she's actually pretty close to caught up.
Cool. That's awesome. Wish I was close to being caught up. What am I at? I'm at 30% on Destruction, 30% recorded. I got a long way to go.
I'm hoping that folks give Liberty Station a try. It's not the same as Empire. It's definitely a different kind of book. The villains are a little bit more mustache twirly, but I think it's a fun adventure. It's more adventure, I think, space adventure and space opera than perhaps military science fiction.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I took it. It's different. It's very, very different. There is, I don't know, man. I didn't see any characters among them that I want to hang out with.
What? Oh, come on.
They're all scum. They're all scum.
They are not all.
They're all
scum.
soldiers of fortune with no conscience whatsoever.
What about the scientist? What about the engineer? Come
on.
They're
the worst.
What? She's sweet.
I'm messing with you. I haven't read that book in 3 years. I can barely remember the characters. I can barely remember the characters except for the psychopathic mom and his psychopathic brother. Those are the 2 characters I'm like, oh.
I know, but they were so much fun to write that way.
Yeah, right.
No, seriously, they were. There's a certain freedom to being able to mustache twirl.
Yeah, I know. Just, cue Snidely and bring him in there. Yeah, it'll work well. It'll work well. Well, we should probably actually get to the episode before your internet completely drops out. So what we're going to cover today is Terry's wonderful trip to the SFWA convention, also known as the Nebula convention.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, tell us about it.
Well, let's do it.
Terry, reports have it that you attended some convention.
Lies, all lies.
And I have photographic proof because some idiot.
If it's Mr. Snuffleupagus, that never happened.
Because Mr. Dummy posted them.
Damn it.
Yeah, I know. Foiled again by your own hubris.
Foiled again by my own.
Exactly. By my own social media account. I'm sure it's been said more than once this year. Anyway, the conference you went to, that of course was rumored, or reports rather. The conference you went to was this SFWA thing? No.
It's the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers, which is SFWA, if you actually want to go that route. It was the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America Nebula Award Conference.
And what is the Nebula Award?
The Nebula Award is their yearly recognition of the best short story, the best novella, the best novelette, and the best novel. And there's other awards that take place at the same time. They have a Grandmaster inducted every year, and that's always exciting because I have no idea who this person is. But that's okay. I don't have to. He's really done a lot. That's all I needed to know.
And what kind of convention is this? Is that panels? Blah blah blah.
There were some panels there. There were a lot of different panels. I think the organization is still really looking to see how they can incorporate indies in, because indies have only been part of it for about 3 years now.
Right.
So they're making efforts, but I suspect they really still don't quite understand what we're all about.
No.
So think of this trip to the Nebulas as an outreach for me. I was
outreach. It's indie author outreach.
That's exactly the way I see it.
Trying to convert
jerk
cynics.
I am.
Trying to convince cynics everywhere, right?
Exactly so.
Exactly so.
Well, I wasn't the only indie there, though. There were a bunch of indies there.
Well, like who?
Michael Anderle was there. He writes the Catherian Gambit and co-writes with a whole slew of people. And he also has his own publishing house that does that and many, many other things. I think he said something ridiculous like in the next year, he's hoping to publish 130 some odd books of some kind or another.
How many?
There's 130 some odd books. A lot of books.
Jeez.
Not just his, but various other people that are writing in the same universe, and possibly not. I'm not really sure of the scope of it, but it sounds really big. He was there with his wife. Craig Martell, one of the folks that I already knew that co-writes with him, was there. Kevin McLaughlin was there. Nathan Lowell was there. Nathan doesn't write with them. He's just a curmudgeon. He writes for himself.
A very successful curmudgeon.
Indeed, he is. Those are the only indies that are jumping out at me, although I'm sure there were others there. Those are the ones that I went knowing they were going to be there. They were all at the table with me. Oh, Jonathan Brazzi was there as well out of that group. And we were all at the same table during the Nebula Awards.
Mm-hmm. So you broke bread with other insane people.
Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, Jeffy Kennedy, one of the directors at large at SFWA, was sitting at the table right next to me, which she totally understands me now. She totally gets me. And sitting across the table was the SFWA vice president. So there was some mixture going on.
Some mixture.
Yeah. My friend Daniel Potter was there as well. He's the head of the self-publishing committee at SFWA, which I'm a member of as well. So conference-wise, there were a lot of panels, but honestly, not so many that particularly interested me for the panel contents, but the networking was amazing.
Oh, yeah?
They had representatives from Kickstarter there, from Draft to Digital, from a production company for voice work, which their name escapes me at the moment. Of course, our good friend Dave Robeson was there, telling everybody about the great Archivos religion. Convert to Archivos. Except he says it much better than I do.
Yeah, so you can pull off a Darth Vader voice. You can't.
Yes, this is absolutely true.
You do, no offense, Terry, but you just don't have the timbre.
Yep, I'm never going to try that. Sorry, I don't got that one.
You'll start coughing all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
What a wanker. So what was Draft to Digital doing there?
They were there trying to make people aware that they could publish their own works through Draft to Digital. I really, honestly, I truly believe that there was a lot of indie people there, even counting Draft to Digital, even counting Kickstarter, trying to show traditional publishing, hey, there's these other things going on that, your backlist that you may have control over, your other stories, some new stuff you might do. Hey, there's some stuff going on over here. Also, Data Guy was there from Author Earnings and gave a report on the health of science fiction and fantasy writing at the moment, as far as indies and traditional.
And what was his consensus?
It was nothing that was really new to me, although seeing the numbers is always cool. But it basically said half of the science fiction and fantasy universe is invisible. Basically, the trade pubs, when they're reporting data through BookScan and other things, that the part that's published through Amazon that the indie authors are doing, the part that's published through Barnes & Noble, through Kobo, through Smashwords, through Draft Digital, that's half the market that is not counted.
Really?
Yes. About half the market is not counted, and that's us indies.
Wow.
That's the boiled down thing. There were slides that had information and broke it down by subgenre, but I did not. They said that he said that he was going to see about getting the slides to the people that were there, but of course it hasn't happened yet. But hopefully that will happen sometime in the relatively near future, and I can actually reference those slides.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool.
All the details, the general gist of what they said has been what they've been saying for years now, that indies are taking up a big thing there. Now, if for those watching here on the screen, the slide of, you may have heard that starting in 2009, ebooks have started falling off, or maybe it was sooner than that, but ebooks and whatnot go up and then it comes back down again. If you look at the data, the part where it starts going down, it actually continues going up at about the same margin. It's just that the sales are converting to indie sales.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. That makes more sense, actually.
So by the time you get to current day, it seems to have lost a big chunk of sales. And that's what they keep talking about in the market, in the reports in the market. But if you look at the ghosted segment, it's actually about twice as much as being reported. Indie sales, ebooks are alive and well. And audio is growing. It's so are print, but it's going through indies now. So all of those things are still happening, but it's transitioning from traditional publishing to indies. And weirdly enough, I hadn't seen anything to make this connection, and nobody else has said it, but I was reading an article yesterday on some newspaper that a vulture capitalist bought, and he was basically running it into the ground, intentionally running it into the ground. Basically, they were bitching because he's cutting the workforce, he's cutting back on the number of pages, he's cutting all these things about it and doing nothing to improve its circulation. And the article, I think it was from the Wall Street Journal, but I could be mistaken, was saying that he bought this company with the intention of milking it for everything it was worth until it died, because newspaper is dying. So he got this with the intention of getting his money back and more by running it intentionally into the ground, by cutting back everything that he possibly could in order to just barely keep the subscribers from running away screaming. They'll still leave in bits and dribbles and drabs, but he's going to just milk that company for everything it's worth. And I can't help but make that comparison to traditional publishing. The way that they're doing things, is it behaving the same way, where they're just milking what they've got and it's going to go to hell? And I kind of think it is.
I don't keep up enough with the data to really have an opinion on that. What I know is my wife, for instance, uses Kindle Unlimited, but it seems like the majority of what she reads is from indie authors. And she's not the only one.
In Kindle, well, I should say that. I'm not surprised, because which traditional publishers put their stuff in Kindle Unlimited?
Yeah. But also, I think it's because Nathan Lowell said something last year or the year before, I can't remember which, that he doesn't read anything from the mainstream presses anymore, because he thinks all the interesting stuff is going on with the independents and the small presses.
I am reading a ton of indie stuff going on. There are still a few people that I'll read traditional. When the next Nora Roberts book comes out, I'm there. Do you see me smiling? I'm not joking.
I've fallen back in love again with Peter F. Hamilton, so I know I'll be buying his catalog, or
I
more of his catalog.
I bought the Fold from Peter Klein's.
Yep.
That's traditional.
Yep.
I'm sure that there are a few others, but they are few and far between. Whereas indies, I buy them left and right. In fact, I've noticed that over the last couple of months, if I see a book that looks interesting, I'll pick it up. I have no idea if I'm ever going to read it. The mere fact that it interested me enough to be thinking about buying it, I just went ahead and picked it up because, it's only $3.99. If I decide to get around to it, I'll get around to it. It'll be right there. Of course, I've done the same thing for audiobooks. Between my wife and I, we've crossed 500 audiobooks. I should know, it gave me a token.
Oh my God. Ay, ay, ay. And you've listened to hardly any of them.
If I listened an hour a day, it would take me in excess of 2 years to read what I've got sitting there. Maybe closer to 3 years at this point. I don't know. I've actually been on a lit RPG tear this last couple of months. I think I must have gone through more than a dozen novels.
That brings up an interesting question.
And I can because it's indie. It doesn't matter. I'll buy that sumbitch and off I go.
Was that discussed at all at this conference?
Lit RPG?
Yeah.
No. I think I brought it up with someone at a table in the con suite where they were saying, oh, I write lit RPG. And we started discussing what exactly that was. And that dragged Nathan Lowell over to discuss lit RPG with me. I had no idea he was a gamer. In fact, I'm still not sure completely that he was a gamer, but one of his friends is writing, someone he knows is writing lit RPG. So we got into a nice conversation about that.
So basically, SFWA didn't talk about trends in science fiction. They left that to other folks.
Pretty much.
Huh.
The only, even the data guy presentation, it had the ring of, hey, trade pub guys, look over here. Look what's going on behind this curtain over here. There was a lot of that going on, and I don't know how many people actually got it because it didn't seem like there was a ton of people in that ballroom when he was doing that presentation. Not as nearly as many as there were seats. So I'm still not sure that they've really gotten the clue that there's this whole other thing that they could be doing. But while they're reaching out to indies are reaching back. And that means a whole lot. I talked to at least a dozen people that were interested to hear how things were going for me as an indie while I was there, both new folks and folks that were trade pubbed. So, and I know I was not alone. The other indies that were at my level or around my level or significantly higher than my level were all talking to people and freely sharing information about, hey, here's what's going on. Here's the kind of things we're doing. If you got questions, hey, ask them. I'm going to give you an honest answer.
Yeah, that's cool. It's funny that you mentioned that because when I go to Balticon, there's still this friction when I'm on panels with a traditionally published author or editor agent. There's still this kind of like sidelong glances that are kind of like, why are we associating with you, scum? At least it was, 2 years ago.
I don't know that I felt any of that there, but there was definitely a group of people that were definitely trade pubbed that you could tell, they're standing over there. They weren't standoffish, mind you. I didn't see any unfriendliness there, but you know how cliques form. People stand where they're going to stand.
Absolutely. And
there were still some people that, well, they were there, they were trade pub, and that's the way it was. And I'm not sure whether or not how that's going to work out. Maybe that population is going to age out, but I definitely anticipate that future Nebula conferences are going to be, they're going to figure out who indies are. They're going to be able to bring in the kind of things that interest indies. They're going to bring more indies into the fold. And I believe that they have something to offer too, because even while you're an indie, you still need to know things about trade pub. You might want to become a hybrid author. There's no reason why you shouldn't hear the siren call, if you will, and learn about it, because the only right answer is the one that works for you.
True. Very true. And these days, a lot of these folks with the huge back catalogs can afford to pay somebody to put that together for them.
Yeah, I don't know if they're doing that or if something else is going on, but I think that the folks production-wise on the indie side are trying to reach out to them and show them that they could be doing something here. This space is not just for newcomers, that there's a place for the folks that are there. And I know of at least a couple of people from SFWA, including one member of the board that is going to be attending the 20 Books to 50K conference in Nevada this year in Las Vegas in November to see, what's going on in an indie conference. Maybe that'll open some eyes really wide.
What other kind of panels did SFWA have? I mean, it wasn't just you guys.
Oh, heck no. They had, anytime that there was a panel going on, there were probably 3 or 4 panels going on.
Okay, so like a Balticon, DragonCon, whatever.
Oh yeah, not nearly as many as Balticon, not nearly as many as DragonCon, but there was definitely a choice to be had.
Okay, so they had what kind of panels though?
Well, let's see. They had archaeology and science fiction. I wished I could have attended that one. It's recorded. A bunch of them were recorded and are going to be either already are or will be soon up on the SFWA YouTube channel. Gotcha. So I'm gonna have to go check that out and see.
I wasn't even aware they had a YouTube channel.
And neither was I. That's something that they probably should advertise a little bit more. They had everything ranging from social issues. They had a panel on Me Too in the new universe of publishing and how it affects what's going on today. They had a death building panel where they talked about killing off people and how you go about it and why you should go about it. I thought Paul E. Cooley should be on that panel because he would have definitely been right there in place.
Oh shit.
No. I can't really get it. The panels were all over, literally all over the spectrum.
Okay. So
I wish they had more craft panels like the death building one, more panels on how they thought. There was one on writing a series, how to go about writing a series. I wish it had been more things like that, but that's just me. Other people would have gotten different things out of it. And I think that there was certainly enough there. In the times where there wasn't something going on, anything that I was interested in anyway, I was cornering somebody at a table outside and talking to them. Yes, I was that guy. Social. I was that guy.
And yet you claim you're not social.
Well, actually, I think most of them were tracking me down, but that's okay.
Were you holding court outside?
Not nearly as much as the other people. I kind of like hung along in the outskirts of other people holding court.
Gotcha. It's usually where I hang out. Here, you go do your thing. I'm not going to get involved in it.
And then, of course, there was going to the con suite for lunches that were presented by various people, and then going after all the presentations were done and hanging out till 1 in the freaking morning, talking with various people in there.
Well, that never happens.
That certainly happened here.
You never end up stumbling back to your room from the bar, exhausted or drunk or both, to catch a whole 7 hours of sleep before you have to wake up, get breakfast, and do it all over again.
Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, around the Marriott where they had this, there was a lot of expensive restaurants. I should know from the various dinners we went to. Some places were reasonable. A couple of other places, not so much. But it was all still good and fun and budgeted for.
Ah, that's the important bit. Budgeted for.
There was a brewery that was set up as a restaurant in a church, in an old church. It was in the brewing kettle was there in front of where the altar used to be. It was quite interesting.
So it sounds like you had a good time in Pittsburgh.
I did have a good time. We went out. I was going to go ahead and take Michael Anderley and Craig Martell out to dinner one night, and they ended up inviting some other people. It ended up being like 8 people out there. So I didn't end up buying dinner that night. I'll buy one for them when we get to Las Vegas. But we went to an Italian place that serves family style meals. And it says in the menu that these large plates serve 5 people.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So it's like a Buca di Beppo.
That's exactly what it was.
Oh, there
Buca
you
di
go.
Beppo. That's exactly what it was.
Yes.
And so, not really realizing what this was, the group ended up ordering 4 larges.
Oh, no.
There was no way in hell anyone was eating half that food that was coming out of there. Holy cow. That was some serious. The lasagna. oh my God, the lasagna.
Yeah. At that point, it would be just an absolute massive mess.
It was, but
big.
During dinner, I ended up sitting across from Michael Anderle and his wife and talking shop. And he's one of those writers that's way above my level. He's performing at a much higher level than I am. And he's sitting there going, so where do you see yourself being in a year? Really putting me on the spot, thinking about it, talking about it. So it was a very interesting conversation. It was really cool to meet folks like that.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about Balticon. Not just seeing the familiar faces, but also getting into interesting, discussions with folks after a panel, or when you see them afterwards at the bar or one of the social functions, whatever, and having those discussions, or basically somebody will ask a question about something to do with indie publishing or podcasting or whatever, and next thing you know, we're off to the races. So it's always good. And of course, those conversations go like hours. They're all over the damn place.
Yeah. Every conversation that I had in there was no telling where the damn thing was going to go.
Yeah. You just try and catch the tiger by the tail and see where it leads you. Because you never know. I
think I probably spent half the con in basically hanging around the indies of one kind or another when I wasn't going to one panel or another. And it was really cool. Some great people.
That's awesome. So would you go again?
I intend to go next year.
You intend to go next year?
I think that it was totally worthwhile, and I intend to go to the next one.
Which is in LA.
Which is going to be in LA, yes. They do it in the same city for 2 years and then move to another one.
Oh, so they did Pittsburgh last year too?
They did Pittsburgh last year. Basically, how is it that they phrased it? Yeah, the first one's a test run to see how to do the second one better. And then we move to another place.
And screw it up all over again.
Exactly.
Oh, so what you're telling me is you want to go every 2 years?
No, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be just fine.
God. Well, what was your big takeaway from going to SFWA, or did you have one?
I think my big takeaway from the conference is that our community is larger than we think it is. Whether we're indies, whether we're traditional, that you can learn something from anyone in even a completely radically different part of the business than we are. I sat down and we were talking in the con suite with a representative from Drafted Digital and two guys from the voice production company, which their name again escapes me. And just the wide-ranging conversation on various things in publishing and voice work and audio stuff, just all over the spectrum, was just so interesting. And that conversation was multiplied times 100 for the whole convention.
Yeah, I need to get to one of these. Guess that means I actually need to become an SFWA member, though.
That's a good start, but I don't think you actually have to be a member to attend.
Oh, probably
not. Nebula conference.
Probably not.
I believe that there were folks that were there that were not members, because I'm just guessing here. Some of the folks that I talked to in the con suite and other places that were asking a bunch of questions, I gathered the impression that they were relatively new to the writing, or maybe not new, but they were not successful at that level yet.
Okay, I got you.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And maybe an associate level or something like that, too.
No, I don't think that they were members at all.
So they were observers.
I think they were there to see what they could learn.
That's a bad thing. You don't ever want to learn anything about how to do what you do better.
Learning is so bad.
Learning is so bad. It's overrated. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. Okay. So when you say the community is larger, we have our Facebook group. There's several others that obviously that are related to writing on the independent scale. They're all over the place. We need to Sever Press has a group. So given that all that is going on, and given the things that we hear at some of these cons from, the data side, it's very interesting that I don't hear anything on the trade pub side. Maybe I'm just not looking for it, about how wonderful and rosy things are.
I'm not sure that you're going to hear that. Now, I'm not going to say that they all say that it's bad, because some people said that they were perfectly happy with it. But I'm also not sure that they're going to go out and extol its virtues on social media.
Not true. That's very true.
A lot of them didn't seem like the type to do social media. There was actually a class, not a class, a get together. One of the things that they did was for social media. Nathan Lowell was on that. I didn't attend that one either, so I don't know what they said in there, but I believe that they were trying to. It looked pretty full when I walked past it. So there were people trying to learn more about social media and how you use it. Huh. But a lot of trade pub authors have been doing this for a while, and you tend, when you have a publisher or you have an agent, you tend to live in your own little hole and write there, because unlike indie authors, you've already got somebody to publish that book. You're not out there hustling for the audience.
Oh, that's a good point. And yet there are traditionally published authors who are very social media savvy.
Sure. I'm not saying that they're all that way. I'm saying that there's probably a percentage of them that are.
Do you think that's more because the indies are usually younger?
I think that it may be. I think that people like Nathan Lowell and I stand out, and you, since you're old and all, stand out because, we're older. Social media is relatively new to our lives, whereas somebody 10 years younger, that's going to be something they grew up with.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a very, very true statement. It's kind of like I look at some of the YouTube channels that are up there, and I'm just like shaking my head going, oh, the shit I could have gotten up to in my 20s. The little films or whatever else we could have done in my 20s. There was so much shit we could have done. But it's that time has passed for me, but for the most part. I think it's just interesting that, wherever we seem to go, we end up with this independent media, new media phenomenon is starting to enter into these other cons, even the ones that are usually stuffy, so to speak. It's been entering in there more and more. And I think HWA has been really good at how they've handled things. We've pretty much been embraced. And I imagine, I guess SFWA is doing the same thing.
I think that they're trying to. I definitely get the vibe that they're interested in bringing in different viewpoints and seeing what else is going on. I did not feel like I was having anybody look down their nose at me. That was not the vibe I got.
Well, I still think the evolve or die statement applies here. I just don't know. We're at this point in our lives where, you're in your 50s, I'm in my late 40s. By the time I'm your age, we will have probably had yet another one of these revolutions in how things work.
In 4 years, you think?
I think that there's going to be, I'm waiting for the disruption. It's coming. I just don't know what it's going to be.
The disruption is in progress. At this particular moment, the disruption is Amazon. I don't think that they're going to be in turn disrupted in as short a period as 4 years.
We'll see.
We'll see.
I think that there's a chance that it could happen. Is going to be yet. I don't know what the catalyst.
We will definitely find out, but whatever it is going to be something that's helpful to folks like us, because a monopoly is, not usually a good thing. While it may not technically be a monopoly, Amazon has way too big of a market share, and their tactics basically are aimed at excluding competition. So we'll see.
Yeah. Don't even get me started. Don't get me started. It'll be a bad thing. So Terry recommends SFWA?
I do.
All right. Well, good to know.
Besides which, if more people go there, then next year I'll have more people that I can actually go, oh, somebody I can stand near and listen to. Thank God.
Somebody who knows me and not going to think it's strange that I'm being quiet.
Yeah. And speaking of seeing people, Mur Lafferty was there.
Oh, she was. That's cool.
She was actually nominated for a Nebula Award. She did not win, but she was nominated for one. And I walked past her at the signing and talked to her briefly. And she said, Oh, isn't it really cool? Actually seeing people, hearing voices that talk out of strange people's heads.
That's a very good way of putting it. The first time you meet that podcaster's picture you've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Then she said, "Have you gotten rid of that loser Paul Cooley yet?"
Oh,
She didn't say that. She didn't say that.
No, she was thinking it. She was thinking it. Yeah, Mer's good people.
Yes, she is.
Well, all that said, I think we probably should bring this to a close.
I think that's a good idea.
So if you have questions, comments, or complaints about Terry's trip to SFWA, you can email us at show@debrobotssociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley, or you can join the listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group where all the crazy stuff happens. And we also would be remiss if we didn't mention our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 400 bazillion episodes of DRS available for your ear holes. You can visit us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast if you want to see our ugly mugs. Or you can join Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive content, live shows, early access episodes, blah, 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 blah. And if you're at the $10 level on Patreon, we are forced to read your name every week.
And forced is the appropriate word for this.
Since you're not involved in it, I don't want to hear it. I'm the poor sap who has to do this every single week.
I don't feel any sympathy for you.
You don't feel any sympathy for me?
No.
Why don't you feel?
You're just a whiner. Shut up and read the names.
if Patreon will ever load.
Oh, I see. That's how that's going.
Oh God, it's always going like this. All right, here we go. And this week's $10 patrons are Sue, Get Out of My Way or Get Run Over Bayman, JD Barker, Kelson, The Best Deal, Isabel, Sorry I Went Missing, PayPal Had a Stroke Cushy, Rick, Jonesing for a Toe Tag Shaw, I'll get to you, Lisa Slack, Sandy Manpants, Anmanatsu, Tracy Bodine, John Kilgallen, Devin Lee, Turd Ferguson, Nathan, which wristwatches are Swiss wristwatches petty? Close. Drew, J.R. Handley, and Thomas Reed walk into a bar Bernardi.
They get more outlandish every episode.
Chris Wider, Andre Conde Moraes, DJ Chamberlain, and J.R. Please Kill Me Handley.
Wasn't he in there already? Didn't you already kill him once? Come on now.
I haven't killed him yet.
You should. I think we discussed something that he would be perfect for earlier.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see how Trident goes. Yeah. We might get him in there. We'll see. We'll see how that works. Anyway, that's it for this week, folks. Thank you for joining us. Terry, it was a pleasure as always.
It was fun. Make sure and travel safe, everyone that's going to Balticon, although you're already going to be done by the time you hear this.
Exactly. So, without further ado, bye.
Bye-bye.